Now in this problem now, we're talking about the cost of capital for equity. And remember that there are two sources of equity capital for a company. One source of equity capital is retained earnings, which comes from net income. Recall there's only two things you can do with net income. Either paid out dividends or retain it in the firm. So we're talking about the retained earnings of the company. The other source of equity capital, of course, is the sale of new common stock. Selling this common stock outside the company. Sometimes this is referred to as external equity. Now, as I told you before, I think when you calculate component costs of capital, the first thing you should do now is write down the formula for these things. So the component cost of capital for retained earnings is D1, the dividend you expect one time period from now, divided by the price of the stock in the market plus the growth rate. Now, we calculated the growth rate in the A part of this problem. That turned out to be 9.97%. Now, they don't give us the next dividend. They give us the current dividend, D0, which is $3.10. But if you multiply D0 times 1 plus the growth rate, you get D1. So $3.10 multiplied by 1.0997. That's the growth rate in decimal, 0.0997. Divide that by the price of the stock in the market, $57.50. Add to that 0.0997, again the growth rate, and you get the cost of capital for retained earnings to be 15.90%. And recall that retained earnings now, the cost of that retained earnings is an opportunity cost. We say that this is the return that shareholders could earn on their earnings, on the money that they could get from the earnings if we didn't retain it. So this is the investor's opportunity cost. In the D part now, they want us to calculate the cost of capital for common stock. And that formula looks similar, but it's different now. D1, the next dividend, is the numerator, but the denominator is the net price of the stock. This is the price of the stock that the investment banker sells the stock for in the market, less flotation costs. That's the net price. And we add growth to that, the growth rate to that. To calculate the cost of capital for common stock, we take the current dividend, which they told us was $3.10, multiply that by 1 plus the growth rate, and divide that by the net price of the stock, which they told us in the problem was $52. Add to that the expected growth of 0.0997, again the decimal equivalent of 9.97%, and you find the cost of capital for common stock to be 16.53%. Just as a note you should keep in your head here, the cost of capital for common stock is always greater than the cost of capital for retained earnings.